The EU-Mercosur deal was blocked and the European farmers won with their protest. This is what many people think happened, but it might be not entirely true. So as a member of the European Parliament, I would like to explain you what is really happening about this controversial EU-Mercosur trade deal. If you have been living under a rock, you might not know that the EU-Mercosur trade deal is a free trade deal between the EU and some South American countries that have been negotiated for more than 25 years. It is quite an extensive deal. But to explain it simply, it basically removes current tariffs in most products between the EU and the Mercosur countries over a period of 10 years. But what you might not know is that this deal is not only about agriculture, but also about selling cars, energy, technology, raw materials, etc. It should be mentioned that the EU-Mercosur deal has a long list of safeguards to protect the industries from unfair competition. So you might think, what's the problem? Well, there is quite a lot of hate for this deal from the European farmers because they believe that this trade will impact them negatively, as they argue that expensive European products can't compete against cheap agriculture products from South America. And they also believe that the current safeguards are not enough. Still, the majority of the EU governments have approved the deal in the Council of the EU, which is a legislative EU institution that represents the EU governments. After this, Ursula von der Leyen went to Paraguay and finally signed the deal. But wait, my friends, this is not the end of the story because the French, led by Emmanuel Macron, are the biggest opposers of the EU-Mercosur deal.
For sure.
And they had a strategy to block it from being applied. Basically, the European Parliament proposed to send the EU-Mercosur deal to the Court of Justice of the EU to dictate if it complies with the EU treaties, which is something like the constitution of the EU. They asked this because Ursula von der Leyen was doing very tricky things through the negotiation of this deal so that the EU governments cannot stop the signing of the EU-Mercosur deal. In practice, asking the EU court for this opinion means that the EU Parliament will not be able to ratify the EU-Mercosur deal until the EU court dictates its decision, which can take around 2 years. Many thought that this could mean effectively freezing the implementation of the EU-Mercosur deal. But wait, my friend, even though the European Parliament approved to send the EU-Mercosur deal to the court, in the end, it seems that it will not freeze the implementation of this trade deal. This is because several European leaders, like the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and the Prime Minister of Italy Giorgia Meloni, asked to put the EU-Mercosur trade deal into effect provisionally while we wait for the court decision and the European Parliament's ratification. And actually, the last information we have says that the EU-Mercosur agreement might take effect provisionally from as early as March of 2026. So, long story short, the EU-Mercosur trade deal has not been stopped. But this is not the end of the story. I have a feeling that we might be talking for several years about ways of stopping it.
For sure.
Anyways, enough of me talking. I want your opinion right now. When it comes to the European Parliament, what should I vote? Let us all know in the comments below.